2, 1. Magandang umaga, magandang araw, magandang gabi. Hello internet kaibigans, ako po si Rachel, your favorite FILAM Fangirl. And today we are going to talk about whether or not I plan to be a typical Filipino mom. So Filipino-American Parenting. It's a pretty heavy topic if you know about all of the stereotypical things about Filipino moms, but they're not all bad. Let me just put that out there. They're not all bad. There's just like the good, the bad, neutral things, and I'm going to go over the stereotypical things and whether or not I plan on doing them and my thoughts behind them. Get your pandesal and your coffee and whatever snacks you want, and let's get ready for this podcast. Also, thank you so much for coming back. We actually charged the camera this time. I appreciate you. Maraming salamat. Okay, let's be real. I know a bunch of you are here for the cheese, so we are gonna go over the toxic things first and things that I would not be as a typical Filipino mom. Yes, we are diving right into it. The first thing that I would not be is the entertain your family Filipino mom. And you know what I mean? You know, the Filipino moms where they're like, sing for your titas and titos or dance and do that. Like basically like a little entertaining monkey or jester. And it's really sweet and it's cute to see people's talents and whatnot, but it's like you might as well put them in lessons and everything. That might be an unpopular opinion, and people are probably going to say like, oh, well, that's why Filipinos are so good at performing. But tell me why they are so good at performing, but we don't see enough representation in the entertainment industry. I don't see a lot of full Filipino singers or artists or actors and actresses and dancers. It's getting better. I feel like it's getting better with our generation and the fact that everyone is finally actually going into industry because they're supported by their families. However, I will not be that mom. I will not. So I won't force my kid to be the entertainment in a Filipino family party. That's for sure. I was reading a quote recently and it said, your voice and how they felt about what you said will be the basis for how they think about themselves. The next couple of stereotypes are going to be related to this specific quote. That's why I wanted to say that. One of the stereotypical things about Filipino moms is that they have no boundaries, physically, emotionally, mentally. And when I say physically, I mean forcing their kids to go kiss or hug family members. That is something that I will not do at all. Another thing, so that is a stereotypical Filipino mom thing, is being emotionally manipulative, guilt tripping your child into being like, well, I took care of you and I gave birth to you. And this might not just be Filipino moms. It's just like a very toxic parenting style that I don't agree with. And then there's also the narcissistic parenting style. I mean, whether it's just Filipino moms or it's multiple kinds of moms and parents, I won't do that either. I won't guilt trip my child into feeling like they're not doing as much as I expect them to do, or that they're not doing as much as I have done myself or my husband has done for our family. So I won't put that kind of emotional burden on them. Number 4, unnecessary comments. Keep in mind with that quote, like I said, unnecessary comments on physical appearance. That's another thing Filipino moms do. And I know it's not just Filipino moms, okay? I know I keep saying this, but we're going real deep with this. Filipino moms in particular, growing up, I have spoke about this in, thoughts on my tan skin, thoughts on why I used to hate being Filipino, reasons why it was just so hard for me to love the culture, because what I saw at face value were the adults in my life, like my titas and the moms, and it's not, the women are not the only proponents, it's also the men. And just the comments on, like, unnecessary comments on physical appearance. The color of your skin the body features of like whether, oh my God, you're so short or you're so tall or, you gained weight or you need to put on weight or you have acne. And mind you, I used to get told that when I had no acne, and then when I had more acne, they were just like, oh, it's because of X, Y, and Z and you shouldn't be stressed. And I'm like, well, you're stressing me out. So won't be doing those kind of comments on my child's physical appearance, both good and bad. So I know I mentioned a bunch of the bad stuff, but even good stuff, right? Like, yes, it's always good to be like, oh my God, you look beautiful, blah, 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 blah. But I also don't want that to be the highlight of my child's, inner confidence. I want to focus and I want to praise on non-physical attributes like, wow, you're so talented or you're so intelligent. That was a great point that you made. These are non-physical compliments. That's another thing that I would do. Number 5, the don't waste your food Filipino mom. It's funny because this one actually hits pretty close to home. I recently went out to brunch with some of my girls and and most of them are Filipino, right? So we had food on the plate and it was just like there, and then it was, I think, half eaten, or there was like still a couple more bites left. And all of us are looking at it. And then I forgot who said it, but one of the girls were like, don't do it. Break those generational curses. And I love that. I love that we all agreed that we're like, oh my gosh, this is like a generational trauma of like, eat your food and getting like, just eat it, right? Like, regardless of whether you're full or not, you're forced to eat all of the food on your plate. And that is not okay. I do not want to be the reason why my child has an eating disorder. I want them to have a good relationship with food. On the topic of food, I also want to be a mom that doesn't put desserts on a pedestal. And what I mean by that, so for example, if someone, family member, whatever that may be, gives my child food, or gives us snacks and foods as gifts, I won't force them to eat it, right? Like, you don't have to eat it if you don't want to. That's one point of it. And then I will also serve desserts. So other good practices about not putting desserts on a pedestal. I'll serve desserts with their normal meal so that they don't feel like they have to wait for a dessert or earn it. And then I won't say things out loud in front of them like, oh, I'm being so bad, and proceed to eat sweet things. I want them to truly enjoy the things that they have in life, and not just, I don't know. It's something rubs me the wrong way of like having bad relationship with food. And I can speak from experience, went through enough therapy to go through this, that I want my child to have a good relationship with food, where it's fuel, it's something that is balanced, and then you're truly enjoying it. Overall, the most important thing is that I want to model balance with food. I want to have my child have a good relationship with food. Number 6, the contradictory Filipino mom. There's a lot that goes into this one. There's like the Filipino mom that praises the medical field but doesn't believe in modern medicine. Or there's the Filipino mom that idolizes other people's lives but doesn't even praise their own child for the successes that they have. It's very contradictory. And then there's also the contradiction of, this is the way it is because I said so. Or the contradiction of, yeah, I said that before, but I just changed my mind and I'm the adult, so that's why I'm right. And that kind of communication style is not okay with me. I mentioned this in past podcasts. I will admit when I am wrong. I will apologize if I am wrong. And I will also make sure that my child knows that it's not my way or the highway. Ugh. Even just with that, like my way or the highway is like sends shivers down my spine. I will encourage our future baby to challenge me, to challenge Mark, my husband, and I want them to come with convincing arguments and reasoning behind their thoughts and opinions. I don't want them to ever come to me with, oh, it's this because I said so. I want them to have critical thinking skills. I want them to, challenge us. And I may not agree with them all the time. And that is okay, right? That is okay that we don't agree. And I think my husband and my mother-in-law have a really good relationship in that sense where they don't agree all the time. And I've seen it modeled. And I've seen that example in the perfect example where Mark would disagree and his mom would just laugh it off and be like, and not dismiss him, laugh it off, but she would just laugh it off and be like, you know what? You're right. This is why I like you. You challenge me. She actually said that one time when we were all in the car and she's like, this is why I like you. And I thought that was so sweet. And I want to have those moments with my future children where they know they can have differing opinions from me and I may not agree, but I just don't want to be contradictory to them. Number 7, the not keeping your word Filipino mom. When a parent says they're going to do something, obviously we can't always keep our promises because we're all human, but it kind of ties in with the last comment about apologizing and, owning up to your mistakes and what you speak about. However, specifically to not keeping your word, I feel like I see a lot of that with Filipino moms where they say, okay, so get a good grade or do X, Y, and Z, and we will go to the movies or we will go to this restaurant. And I've seen memes about this where, oh my gosh, what is it in Tagalog? When they say, oh my gosh, I'm blanking out. Oh, mama ya. They're like, mama ya. And then the kid goes, mama ya this, mama ya that. When are we actually going to go? I want to be a mom that keeps their word. And if I don't keep my word, again, I would like to apologize for that. If a parent sets up a reward system like that and says they're going to go get something for their child or do something, they should go do that and follow through because you're setting an example of one, keeping your word and your integrity, but also you're setting this level of trust between you and your child because your child is not going to be someone that is vulnerable or somebody that, depends on you forever. They're going to eventually grow up and eventually they're not going to need you financially or mental support and all that stuff. They can fly the coop and basically be on their own. Be that type of person that keeps your word. That's all I gotta say. And that's what I want to do. Number 8. The running on Filipino time mom. Oh my gosh. And this could be interpreted 2 ways. The Filipino mom that is late, super late to events, or the second one is the Filipino mom that arrives to an airport 12 to 15 hours early because they don't want to miss their flight and you're just waiting in the airport. I think there's a good balance. Obviously, you can be late to things and whatnot, but I don't want to be that kind of mom that's on Filipino time. I think that time is not only money, but time is valuable. And I would like to teach my child how to respect other people's time by being a good example and not using the excuse that, oh, we're Filipino and it's Filipino time. Number 9, the type of Filipino mom that has weird communication about relationships, sex, and love. For example, with relationships, I find it so odd when Filipino people tease or talk about children having significant others. Like, oh, look at your boyfriend, look at your girlfriend, before they are 16 to 18 older. And I know most of the time it's innocent, but I know that it's a thing that people do. I joke around about how Shadow has a girlfriend, one of the neighborhood dogs, but I will actively avoid it mainly because it's over sexualizing a child. And I know way too much about child brides and sex trafficking and all the terrible things in the world. So I never want my child to feel like, not necessarily the pressure of feeling like they have to have a partner or any of that. It's just weird. I don't know. Like I said, weird methods of communication when you're communicating that. Another example for sex specifically is Filipino parents who have the audacity to say things are sexy and not talk about safe sex or consent or contraceptives. But that won't be the case in my household. Our child will call their body parts, their private body parts, by their proper anatomical names. We're not going to do the whole nicknames thing, like, oh, cover your flower, all that stuff. And we're going to teach them what private parts are. Our child will not have any secret with other adults. I don't believe in that because that lends itself to other adults taking advantage of my child or children. And then if our child does not want to show affection to other adults, like hugging or kissing, I mentioned this earlier, they don't have to. And that's me and my husband included. So related to sex, it's more revolving around my fear that my child will be taken advantage of. Hence also adding no sleepovers ever. And then last but not least, for love, people throw around, because Filipinos are romantics, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, that person is gonna marry you. And you're like, okay, maybe they're just dating. Maybe that's not that serious. Maybe it's they're not good partners. But all I can do is I will use our marriage, mine's and Mark's marriage, to set a positive example for what love is. So that is something that I want to keep in mind. Number 10, the physical discipline mom. It's a running joke when Filipino moms throw their chinelas at their children or use it to spank their kids. However, that is not something that I will do. I don't want to spank or hit my child. I don't want to do the things where Filipinos use a slipper, a hanger, a belt, a freaking 4x4. That's just not me. I don't want to do that. And I will use my words. I will communicate with them. I will raise them with the understanding that their emotions are not fully matured until they're 7 years old, if not later. And I'll also teach them that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you apologize. Number 11, the comparing to others or be just like me, Filipino mom. I will not talk down on my children, calling them a disgrace or making them feel anything less. I want to make sure to lift them up as they are growing up. I will not talk badly about them to other people, even if it's little complaints, kind of for the example of husbands who are just oh, ball and chain, my wife, they say things and I that rubs me the wrong way. I totally judge men for the way they speak about their significant others if they speak badly about them. And I feel the same way about how parents talk about their children. And I also saw a bunch of podcasts and a bunch of literature on the fact that when you speak highly of your child will not be a troublesome child most of the time, because they have that solidarity and that confidence that's built into them from their parents. So that's something that I would like to be. That's the type of Filipino mom that I'd like to be. I will not compare them to their peers, especially to their cousins, because tell me how many times I have been comparing, and I'm sure most Asians feel this, where they're like, oh, well, my kid went to this school and my kid did this, or my kid's making this much money. It's why are children trophies? That's weird. Another thing is, I will not try to make them like me or live out the dreams that I had for myself. That's what I'm doing, right? YouTube, podcasts, all the things. If I want to live out my dreams, I'm going to do that for myself. I don't expect my future child to do that. My husband and I will prioritize our baby's interests over our wants for that baby. Number 12, the doesn't believe in mental health Filipino mom. I want to say this applies, I would hope that this applies to more old school parenting. However, I am aware that there are a lot of cultures out there that still don't believe in mental health. And Asians, I'm going to call them out, are heavy offenders for this when it comes to saying they believe in mental health and they support it, but they still don't take the actions that they need to take to support good mental health for themselves. So little things that I would do in the future is that if my child needs a mental health day, they will get that mental health day. If they feel like they need therapy, because I know I won't be perfect as a parent. So if there are certain things that I can't resolve, that Mark can't resolve, that, their peers or, consoling and friends can't resolve, then yeah, I will make sure that they have the support that they need mentally, physically, financially, whatever that may be, to make sure that they are okay. I promise that was the last of more of the toxic types of Filipino culture that I'm sure a lot of people have seen. So let's go into the more positive things, the things I would be as a Filipino mom that I think are positive and I would definitely do. The super clean Filipino mom. And so stereotypically the super clean Filipino mom. And that's the Filipino mom that's like, take off your shoes before you come in the house. That is a thing that in our household. And the don't put your feet on the couch, your shoes on the couch and whatnot. So, it wouldn't even be in the house in the first place. I'm not like, super clean in the sense that like there's like piles of things everywhere. However, I also will avoid, because we live in LA, I would avoid, any situation where no eating in a bedroom and whatnot, because I don't want cockroaches in there or the risk of rodents and stuff, because it's LA and there's just lots of that. Another thing that I would be is a sustainable Filipino mom. And for those of you who know, it's like the Filipino moms who put their sewing kits in cookie tins, the Filipino moms who use the Cool Whip bins and then they like clean it out and then they'll put other food and stuff like that as their Tupperware. I haven't done like the whole Tupperware thing, but just being more sustainable and conscious about that is something that I would like to practice. The respect your elders Filipino mom. That is something I want to do, not in the sense of respect your elders and go kiss and hug them, but in the sense that I will teach my child mano po, which is like a sign of respect where you like do the thing with the hand, because that is something that is important. One, it's important to my husband and I, that is, we believe in that kind of level of respect. So we will teach them that. The must go to college Filipino mom. Yes. Mark and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't force my kid to go to college. And he goes, yeah, you would. And I'm like, yeah, I would. So that's something where if I'm going to force anything, it's going to be forcing the fact that they need to go get a college education, whether it be for at least, okay, here's the deal. At least for a bachelor's degree. I feel like getting a bachelor's degree, even transferring from community college to getting a bachelor's, is important mainly because of the general education that you get. In general education, you are able to get a breadth of different views of the world. And when you have different views of the world, you're able to have more insight into just cultures and life and other people. And that leads to critical thinking and understanding others and whatnot. So it's important to me. Education has always been important to me. So that's one thing. I'm like, you could get a degree in whatever. I don't care. Just please get a bachelor's degree. I don't know. Like that's something. My opinion might change later. But right now, I think that that's the kind of Filipino mom that I would be. It's also because I want to continue that tradition of the importance of education coming from Mark's family line, where his nanay, or his grandma, they called their grandma their nanay, she really truly believed in all of her kids getting an education. And regardless of the low income and, regardless of all of the hardships, she figured out a way to get all, was it 12 of her children? There was a lot of children. She figured out a way to get them all to get their education. And if they didn't get their education and they tried but didn't complete it, then she still set them up financially and career-wise, which I have so much respect for. Stay with me. We have 2 more. I am going to be that loves pageants Filipino mom, or that pageant Filipino mom, because pageants are just a strong thing in the Filipino culture. That's only if my child wants to be in pageants. And that's only because I've had good experiences with the local Miss America organization, and the fact that some of my closest friends today are from the pageant world. So that is something that I would do if my child is interested. And last but not least, the speak to my child in our native language Filipino mom. And Mark already agreed that he would take a Tagalog class with myself and baby, because I was like, yeah, I'll take a class by myself, I'll take one with baby, and then we can learn traditional Tagalog and whatnot. And he goes, I want to too. So it's going to be a family thing. And then I also want to eventually learn Ilocano as well, because that is something from my roots that I would like to be able to speak. On that note, though, when I do learn the language, I will not be one of those Filipino moms that's like, you don't speak Filipino. I could never be one of those moms. And I encountered a lot of those moms in high school when I was trying to learn more about my culture, and pretty much I shriveled away from that because of just how judgmental these adults were. So never want to be that. If I ever meet or come across my child's friend and they don't know the language, I'll be like, oh no, it's okay. And then I'll make sure that they feel invited, like that they feel like, oh, okay, I don't know, but she's always explaining to me what X, Y, and Z means and is including me in the conversation. And that's it. Those are all the things that I would and wouldn't be as a stereotypical Filipino mom to my future child and children. Someday, our kids are going to figure us out. The type of spouse we are and the type of parent we are. How we treat other people and how we let them treat us. We will either be someone they look up to or someone they never want to be like. So, food for thought, leaving that for you. And I will see you tomorrow with another daily podcast this FILAM History Month. Bye.